Yo, what's up everyone? This is Arcando and welcome to my very first video on the NCS Arcade YouTube channel. I basically am going to explain my brand new release. It's called In My Head and it dropped a couple weeks ago. If you haven't heard the song yet, by the way, I'll make sure that there's a link available in the description below. So we're going to start off with the first piece of the project, which is the break. And it sounds like this. So we're going to start off with the first part, and which is this sound right here. Simple roads, but that beginning is really unique for the track. The sound itself is an ESP plugin, which is a stock Logic synthesizer. It's actually super simple. There's just one oscillator coming through with a little bit of chorus and a little bit of distortion, but it's basically like a sine wave sort of road sound to make the sound a little bit more heavier in the mix, and a little bit also like for iPhone speakers and speakers that are less detailed. I wanted to make it more hearable, so I wanted to add a bit crusher to add a little bit more drive and distortion to the sound. I added an EQ to cut off the high end and a little bit of the low end, and then compressing it with a stock Logic compressor. And then this beginning sound is basically that same sound, but using the Logic tape stop effect to kind of start the track in a really unique way. And then we're also emphasizing the rhythm with this hi-hat sample, which sounds like this. And then combining that with some ambience loops, which sound like this. Just a lot of cute sort of bells and pads to fill up that the background, to fill up the spectrum. And then we are also adding the like classical sort of, you know, signature vocal chops that I do in all my tracks. Sound like this. I think adding, you know, vocal chop ambiances is an amazing way to just add a texture and ear candy and overall, yeah, sort of fun addition to the track. So how I make these vocal chops, so for example, these high ones. This was from another vocal, and then I reversed it, and then I used a little altar boy, pitching it up with a full octave, formatted it up as well with 8.4 something, and then a little bit of drive, and then we're adding an EQ, cutting off the low end. Then we're adding two different Valhalla rooms. One has, like, for example, a really short decay, and then one has a longer decay. I don't do this technique anymore, but for this vocal chop, it kind of works. I'm filtering out the high end with a filter, and then adding another EQ where I'm again cutting off the high end. There's a lot of like double filtering and double EQing, double reverbs, and this is the same technique I do for the rest of the vocal chops. And then at the second part we also add like the super simple snap. No like wetness, no reverb, no delay, just really short and dry. And then we have this next part, which sounds like this. We're going to start off with the drums, which is of course where the main groove and the main rhythm comes to place, and it sounds like this. Like, there's a lot of really cool sounds happening. First of all, this kick sounds like this. We got some claps and some snaps. Again, really short. It's really like human sounding. We're adding this other percussive loop. just loops that have also some sort of chant backgrounds. It's just overall really fun percussion loops to really add some nice detail to the rhythm. And then here at this part, you know, you hear this sort of cowbell fill. Then the second part of the beat, we're adding even more percussions, more hi-hats. And yeah, that's basically the beat. It's actually really simple. There's not a lot going on, but it's mainly filling up the empty spaces with certain percussions, but like the main sounds are just kick and clap and hi-hats. So it's just really simple. Then for the synths, we bring back that intro chord sound. Same settings, except there's no bit crusher, but there is another sidechain, so it's being sidechained to the kick. And then we have this main bass, which is this one. Like, this bass is so playful, like, well, even this part. This bass sound is Serum, and it's called Dinoro Bass Low. I don't know where this is from, but 3 oscillators, so we're enabling the sub oscillator, the oscillator A and oscillator B, and then this one has just the normal basic shapes with a saw oscillator, and then we're using the filter cutoff envelope to turn it into like a pluck. Then on the effects, we have a distortion tab with the tube function enabled and just a little bit of drive. Then we're adding a sausage fattener. Not a plugin I use a lot anymore, but for this bass it worked well. Then for the bass, we were also adding this plugin which is called CLA Bass from Waves. This plugin actually adds a lot of character to the sound and almost shapes the sound in a different way. Let me actually mute all the plugins and let me bypass also the CLA Bass. So this is how it sounds like without any of the effects. Right, so it's like, it's kind of dry, it doesn't have any impact, it doesn't move for me, but adding CLA bass changes it completely. Like, it just adds so much more drive and so much more impact. So basically I'm adding some more sub, I'm adding some more treble, so some more like higher frequencies to the sound. I'm compressing it a lot more, and I'm using the distortion function from the plugin to shape the sound in a different way. And then mixing that with a really small chorus is just really making this bass just pop. Then we're adding an EQ, Pro Q2, and I'm just cutting off a little bit of the high end and controlling a little bit of the low end. Same is happening with the Pro MB, but instead of actually taking it out, I'm compressing 2 specific frequency areas, so the high end and the low end, adding a sidechain and an EQ that's boosting the bass a lot. And yeah, so that's this the bass sound. For the effects, we're just like looping what we already had. It's just like adding some more downlifters. For also the second part of the break, we're adding these plucks, and they sound like this. It's just adding some more melodic movement. It's really cool. It's actually just 2 plucks. One is Serum. It's like my standard signature pluck. This one is the one I use in a lot of my tracks. With an Arts Acoustic Reverb, an EQ, and then another EQ. Basically just really shaping the sound and removing like distorting frequencies. Nothing too crazy. And then the second pluck is, I think this is from a Gray track or something. Adds that, like, you know, you hear that click in the beginning, just adds a little bit of attack to the pluck. And then above, we also have some vocal chops. Same technique as before, it's just from another vocal, but I reversed it, pitched it up, add a lot of reverb, and that's that. And then leading that into the next part of the track, which is in Ableton. So we're gonna go back. But actually, before I do that, there's also this little part with the piano here that I've also done in Logic. That sort of bridge part that a lot of people liked in a track. chords are not as simple. There's a lot of like 7, 9 chords happening. It's a pretty complicated chord progression, but works really nice. It's just Contact. It's the Grandeur piano library, which is my favorite one. I'm adding a little bit of saturation or overdrive in this case, some EQing, some 1 knot brighter from Waves. I'm adding another compressor and 2 filters, and that's the piano. So now we're gonna jump into my Ableton project, where I'm going to explain the build-up and the drop. Okay, so now we're in the Ableton project. Actually, a really big project. This whole first part is only vocals. We're gonna start off with the vocal from Britt Larry, and it sounds like this.
Had a feeling we had something. Could have seen it in your eyes.
So this vocal is basically starting with an EQ. It's just like analyzing the vocal. This EQ really doesn't do anything. Then following to that, there's an audio effect rack that my friend Jamal made from That Behavior. Basically, this rack consists of a gate, a CLA 2A vocal compressor from Waves, which is a really cool compressor. Specifically, well, not specifically, you can use it for whatever you want to compress, but it works really nice for vocals. Then we're adding a de-esser, so it's compressing the harsh S sounds. And then following to that, we also have an audio effect rack where we're adding reverb onto a separate channel that we're controlling. There's also a sidechain that's being automated to the beat, and that's just basically the processing of the vocal. And then layered to that, we're also adding doubles. So we have a double that's panned to the right, and we have a double that's panned to the left. I actually did it the other way around here, but it doesn't really matter.
How about you coming close so we can do my place?
It's just making the vocal even wider. This is a really great technique to just add a little bit more energy and width to the vocal. And then the vocals are layered with the stems or the sounds that I made in Logic, and I bounced them and then imported the stems in the Ableton project. I don't really feel like there's a lot to explain here, since a lot of it's already from Logic. Let's just jump right into that build up into the chorus, which sounds like this.
I don't wanna let you go, I don't wanna let you go. Nah. Tell me what you want to know. Run your fingers down me slow, cause you're in my head. You are, cause you're in my head. Cause you're in my...
So we're starting the chorus with this chord layer, which sounds like this. It's just a really simple serum patch. There's not a lot going on, especially in like the effects tab. There's actually nothing going on. Then there's an EQ where we cut at the low end, adding an LFO tool for sidechain, and then an auto filter, so it's like slowly opening up while the buildup is playing. Mixing that with a really cool Reese, which sounds like this. It's like really like in your face, like it sounds really big, Again, Serum, what's really adding that character in the sound is a distortion and a compressor. Again, using the LFO tool for sidechain, and then that's really it. Adding also a custom-made ambience pad, which sounds like this. Basically, this is a frozen reverb sample that we made and we bounced, and then now it's turned into like a WAV file. And this is great for adding texture and extra tonality in any part of your track. So second part of the track, basically what we're doing here is adding some build-up drums, which sound like this. And that's basically the chorus. Or like the build up. And then we go to the drop, which sounds like this. Right, so the drop is actually consisting of two main sounds. We have like the vocal chop, and then we decided to have the vocal chop mixed with this sort of funky lead. So the vocal chop actually sounds like this. So it's just messing around with the vocal. It took me a long time to figure this out, like what I wanted to do with the vocal chop. Same sort of settings. The only difference is this LFO sidechain tool that I'm using to sidechain the vocal. The effects are the same as for the main vocal and the break. Nothing too special, nothing too new. And then we're adding these drums in the drop, and they sound like this. We're starting off with this kick, which is just a kick. Literally no effects, no nothing. It's super simple. I always like to keep my drums really simple. Yeah, there's like some chants as well. There's even stuff from my own sample pack. If you also want to check out my Splice sample packs, I dropped 3 of them, so make sure to check them out because they're full of signature sounds and stuff that I like to use on my tracks, and I'm sure you'll love them as well. We have the effects, which sound like this. And then we have the main bass, which sounds like this. So the first sound is actually, again, from the Elixir pack, which is just like a guitar slide. And then mixing that with sort of acoustic pluck bass. It's this sample right here. It's called Bit Growl Bass. Adding an EQ on there that's like boosting a little bit of the low end and like the low mids. Adding some erosion. Adding some more white noise to a specific frequency of the sound, and then adding a sidechain and adding a Pro MB. That's not doing anything. Then we go to the next part of the track, which is the chords and the second like counter lead. So let's start off with that counter lead, which is this one. I made this patch together with that behavior as well. This one's really cool. Basically, we have an init serum patch with a little bit of chorus and some compression. Adding this audio effect rack, which consists of a saturator, a reverb, some OTT. That's like really bringing out the sound. It's really like making it pop. Then there is a Camel Crusher, and there is an EQ8 that's cutting off all the low end and boosting a little bit of the high end, and of course a sidechain. What's adding a lot of character to the sound is this mod wheel automation. So you see how it's like every time the melody is playing, like it's kind of shaky. It's this mod wheel automation. So it's like this this tremolo function, and you see every time the melody is playing that it's going up. And that just adds a lot of character to the synth. And then we're layering that with 2 synths. One of them is a piano. And then mixing that with another super saw synth, which sounds like this, just for extra chords and width. Together with the vocal chops, those layers sound like this. Like, it just sounds super cool together. Just really fills up the spectrum a lot. There's like some other effects and fills here, and they sound like this. And that's really it. So that's basically the drop. And then we of course have the second chorus where I'm adding these cashmere claps. And then we have another new sound, which is this ambient pluck mixed with the bass and chords. It sounds like this. We have like this pre-drop vocal that kind of goes like this. With this one, we're actually automating the formant, so it's going from the natural tone to a way deeper tone. The melody is slightly different. It's like a lot more complex. It works really well. That's honestly the whole track. So yeah. Anyways, this was the walkthrough of my brand new release called In My Head. Super happy to have NCS on my side with releasing this song. It's actually my first project of 2022. But we're coming in hot with another song that's dropping May 13th, which is my second collab with Exode and my second song of 2022, also dropping on NCS May 13th. Save the date. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to follow me on socials. I also drop a lot of tutorials on my own YouTube page. Yet again, thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for more music and more videos. Peace.